Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you very much, and good evening, everybody. I'm extremely impressed with the attendance that is here on a working day, which shows the kind of commitment the citizens in Australia have towards the development discussion, development discourse. Let me also start by thanking all the four organizers, and specifically AUSED, for supporting this kind of citizens engagement and citizens education process. And I hope there are many other developed countries will follow this example to build a strong political constituency in support of just and right and effective aid. So thank you very much, all the organizers. My presentation is going to basically cover the 4 points. I'm going to bring some case studies from the Asia region, why global partnership, particularly aid effectiveness, is critical for the achievement of Millennium Development Goals, debates on aid effectiveness, various perspectives, and what is the role of citizens, national campaigns, like you have a very famous campaign in Australia, Make Poverty History, to enhance the international aid effectiveness. That's the range of issues that I'm going to deal with. So let me straight away start with Nepal. As many of you might have already known, that Nepal is a country which is in the post-conflict situation. You have now the world's first Maoist government which has come into the power, and the kinds of conflicts, the social fragmentation which exist in that country, and they're trying to rebuild from there. But that country also presents the opportunity, and I was just about 2 weeks back with the vice chairperson of the Nepal Planning Commission, and they're organizing a forum, the Donors Forum, in the month of May this year. And one of the things that he outlined very clearly is that the donors have to agree to aid effectiveness principles, that is Paris Declaration, and the actions defined by the Accra Summit, which is what is one good example, even in a country which is in a post-conflict situation, is asserting as a recipient of the aid to demanding kind of accountability from the donor countries. Example from Pakistan, billions and billions of dollars have gone. Are they really making an impact in terms of the health, the demographic situation in Pakistan? And if they're not, why? Because the issues that come up is many times the aid given by the donors is linked to their finance cycles, and that is determined by their finance cycles, maybe sometimes 3 years, sometimes 2 years, and there is no sustainability, there is no guarantee that the aid will continue beyond that. And that becomes a problem in terms of the long-term planning, which is nationally owned as the national development plans processes. Many times, the kinds of deadlines which are demanded from the donor countries by the recipients themselves are quite problematic, and they do not necessarily reflect the aspirations and the needs of the people. So how do we deal with that situation? That's another example in terms of what is happening on the ground in aid recipient countries. Bangladesh, interesting example just recently coming out of the military-backed government, now first elected government after 2.5 years. Emphasis very clearly is on the harmonization of aid, and you have positive examples where the sector-wide approach has been accepted by the donors, and I'm happy to say AUSED has also increased its contribution to the education sector in Bangladesh, as I was told. And having a lead agency so that you don't have different donors going at different points of time with their pet projects and insisting that that pet project be implemented. And that is why you see the effect of the impact in the education sector in countries like Bangladesh. Indonesia, very interesting example. Just a month and a half back, there was a Jakarta commitment which all the donors signed up to, which basically says that they will implement the Paris Declaration, and there is a committee which is set up, not with the government, but an independent non-governmental organization called Partnership for Governance, led by Erna Vitholar, who was the minister earlier, and she was the special ambassador for Millennium Development Goals in the Asia-Pacific region. And she chairs that committee on the whole issue of enhancing ownership and harmonization in terms of the aid effectiveness in the country and implementation of the global agreements. So I gave you 4 examples where 2 are more in the lines of aid effectiveness and the 2 where the challenges still remain. What are the kinds of challenges? This is the survey which was undertaken by the OECD DAC needs assessment. The 7 challenges for making aid that is given by countries like Australia, by countries, any donor countries. The key challenge is the priorities many times get driven by the donors. Systems are set by the donors. Procedures are difficult for the recipient country to really implement. Uncoordinated donor practices, different donors asking different sets of reports, different sets of missions coming in, excessive demands on time. You have had countries in Africa where you have a situation where out of 365 days, if you look at, if you have donors visiting you for 200 days, when do you expect the ministries to really do work? Because you have donor missions going, and there have been examples which have been got forward. With tremendous amount of good intention on the side of the donors, delayed disbursement affects salaries of the frontline workers. She may be an auxiliary nurse midwife supporting a woman in difficult situation, or a school teacher who herself doesn't necessarily come from the rich background and is dependent for feeding her family on a monthly salary. Many times the disbursements and governments may not have the flexibility in terms of cash flows. That creates a problem. Lack of transparent, open information, and sometimes demand which go beyond the national capacity to deliver. Those are the kinds of challenges, and I'm not saying it. It's 400 experts which were surveyed in the development practitioners who are saying this.